5 o'clock in Pirate Country, and it's time to get pumped up with the P-Man. Hit the door and hit the road. 94.3 The Game is going to get you home, and the P-Man's not holding back.
Yes! Yes! Pirates win! Pirates win!
Bring on the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Holy mackerel! Oh, my goodness!
The flagship station of the ECU Pirates. And now, Patrick Johnson with today's Pirate Report on the flagship station of the ECU Pirates, 94.3 The Game.
All right, yeah. Yes, indeedy duty. Welcome in. How would we couch last night, Pilkington? I think I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little down in the old dumps this morning.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. It's like this team fought back, had all the momentum going into halftime, and then the third quarter, the offense just hit a roadblock.
But you got to give some of the credit on that, I think, to SMU, because that's a good SMU defense on probably the most talented team that the Pirates will face since Michigan. And perhaps, maybe the most talented team they will face until they face Tulane, as far as just a complete football team. But boy, what a! And so this morning, I tapped out after the third because I had to get up early and do work and news and all kinds of stuff. So it's one of those things, but I knew I could either get up and watch it in the morning, the fourth quarter, or I would catch it because ESPN replays those games, and about the time I wake up is usually when the fourth quarter's on. So I got up, got my coffee, got to my office, and watched the fourth quarter, and boy, the turnovers were just killer. I mean, Flynn had a great run, but, got ripped of the ball. And they just were a second away from getting the snap off, and they would have not had the review. I mean, a millisecond. And then, all right, you do a good job there to limit it to a field goal. It's still a one-score game. But where was he throwing the football on that pick six? It's just tough. And, I know everybody's complaining and groaning about Donnie Kirkpatrick and the play calling, and I mean, maybe it could certainly be up for debate, but I mean, you can't turn the ball over. You can't have problems blocking. You can't continued problems blocking. You can't have pre-snap penalties. You got to catch the ball. I mean, the ball, in a lot of instances last night, I thought it was put on the money, and there were no or at least catchable balls. Let's just say that. There's no receiver that can – I mean, the 50-50 ball is more like a 20-80 ball now because you just don't know if they're going to hang on to it. So there's a lot – the defense was lights out. I thought the defense was fabulous. And I know they gave up that cheapie at the end over the top, but, I mean, think about that. And I know there's some people this morning who are questioning the punt down 2 scores and all that. But, there are some things I think are valid questions. Of course, the lunatic fringe is out with the torches already. And now I think, Pilkett, the worst-case scenario is when do people throw their arms up in the air and apathy sets in?
I think
anger's one thing, apathy's another thing. We saw apathy at the end of the Scotty Moe era.
Yeah, I think if you lose next week to Charlotte, apathy sets in. They are not as good of a team as – I know they're better than everybody thought they were, but everybody's like, they hung with Maryland. No, they scored 2 touchdowns in the first 2 minutes against Maryland, and they got blown out the rest of the way. The game started 14-0. They did hang with Florida. I'll give them that. But Charlotte is not a good football team.
Florida's a disaster, and – so there's a lot of things that have to be remedied before. Next week's the biggest game of the season, and I would dare say perhaps the biggest game of Coach Houston's tenure, because I think with it being homecoming, there's going to be decent crowd, decent start time, and you're gonna have an expectation, rightfully so, that you can win the game if you're this fan base and if you're the players and coaches. But, I mean, I think there will be extreme anger if it doesn't go the Pirates' way next week, and then you have to wonder at what point, and fear at what point does maybe some apathy start to set in. I mean, that's the sad part about it. I thought the students were sensational last night. The crowd was pretty good, all things considered. They were into it, but you just hope that this thing doesn't trend in a direction where people don't show up at homecoming, or if homecoming goes poorly, don't kind of vote with their pocketbook in a sense. But just a frustrating game last night. A lot of people who've been very positive, and I mean, I'm still positive in a lot of ways, but it's really like a heartbreak this morning. I mean, you didn't lose it like West Virginia lost it on a Hail Mary, but in some ways this is that would have been heartbreaking. I was talking to somebody about that this week, about the UCF game where they won on the last second thing. This was in the wake of Miami and how they lost, and that makes you sick to your stomach. But this is just a tough deal, a really tough deal. Any thoughts, Pilk, before we get into some cuts here?
I'll just play a little devil's advocate here because there is a lot of negatives, but the one positive I did see, Mason Garcia looked more confident in the pocket than I think he's ever looked in his college career. Yeah,
I thought he looked good in the pocket. I thought they moved the pocket a few times to allow him to make throws. Again, I don't maybe understand the move to Flynn, and now in hindsight it looks like it's not the right move. I mean, you're still there at 14-10. And your defense is just playing great. Let's get a couple cuts in here from Coach Houston. He talked about after the game the defense and how well they played.
Well, they played their butts off all night. And, you have it 14-10 and you got the ball in the fourth quarter. And we gotta be able to put these games away. I'm just really frustrated that we're not able to finish the games. And but that's one of the more talented offenses in our league, one of the more talented teams in our league. And, we had a chance to knock them off at home. We didn't get it done.
On the decision to go with two quarterbacks.
Well, I thought Mason came in and gave us a spark in the first half and did some good things, and really, gave us the momentum going into halftime. Brought us back, scored 10 points there, and had us back in the ball game. And then, just kind of sputtered there in the second half, and Alex came in and gave us a little bit of a spark, but the two turnovers there in the fourth quarter really hurt. Obviously, the one for a touchdown, the other one was 3 points. So those two turnovers really hurt our chances. When it was 14-10, and it just kind of got away from us after that.
Well, just again. I think hindsight being 20/20 and being what it is, that's a tough deal. All right, Chase Soul, the play of Chase Soul for another game. Coach Houston discussed that afterwards.
Well, he's really developed and came along this fall. He's just joined us right before camp, so he's going to be a really good player for us. He's just a redshirt freshman, so he's going to be here for a long time. And, he did some good things tonight. We just got to get a little bit more consistency from that group.
Yeah, and again, that goes back, Pilk, to what we were talking about. The drops are perplexing to me. Really tough to see the drops. You're not doing – no favors have been done for either of these quarterbacks. I mean, they both have their flaws, and Flynn – did turn it over a couple times in the fourth, but the receivers haven't done these guys any favors either.
Yeah, no, they have definitely not. And I think the other issue is that they're early and often. It's one thing when you have one sprinkled here and there, but when you start the game with drops, you wonder what that does to the quarterback's confidence. I thought both quarterbacks remained confident, but when you get no confidence,
it's a here we go again scenario.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's just frustrating. And you would think, like, that would be the easiest thing to fix, right? I mean, blocking in the open field, spacing, all that stuff's tough. Dropping the football.
I thought Terrence made a great point yesterday on the pregame show. By the way, our shows yesterday were just awesome out there. What a great response to my show and then the pregame show, kind of the expanded stuff we were doing. But I'll tell you this. Like Terrence said, if you're just catching balls in practice to try to fix this, you're not doing enough. You need to be getting extra work in. I'm assuming these receivers are, but the extra work, you need to do extra work on top of the extra work because it's tough. It's tough right now.
I remember we used to, oh, good. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember we used to, after practice, we would turn with our back to the jug machine. We would turn it as high as we could, and the guy would say turn, and after we turned, the ball was already released from that thing from like 10 yards behind us at like 90 miles an hour. And you either caught that ball or you like got the wind knocked out of you and you need to go to the hospital with broken ribs.
Or your fingers broken.
Yeah. So that was, and then we didn't drop balls anymore. It was kind of, I don't know if that's what they need to do or what it is, but yeah, that taught us to catch the ball real quick.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it's crazy. The texts are flowing in. The calls have been flowing. I mean, there's a lot of frustration right now. All right. I was really concerned about the Javius Bond injury, and let's see what Coach Houston had to say about that afterwards.
You know, he's an explosive player, so you hate to lose him to start the game. And I don't think it's serious, but we'll know more tomorrow.
They brought him off of the field. He wasn't putting any weight on his lower body, and I think that was a tough deal. I think that was really a tough situation, and it kind of set a little bit of an ominous tone early on. But the team played hard. They played really. The defense has been sensational. Defense did all they could really do. And again, I know you're going to look at that and say 31-10. Well, they lost by 3 scores, but SMU got a cheapie at the end. And then one of those, really 10 of those points you can't blame on the defense because the fumble gives it away and they hold them to a field goal. They were put in an unenviable situation, and the guy hit a 50-yard field goal. And the pick six obviously doesn't go against defense. So, I say 10 points. You would probably say 7. But, it's a 2-score game if you take away that pick six. And as long as you're 2 scores in it, you're in it. Now the question is, Pilk, will your Panthers come through this weekend?
Are you kidding me? Don't ask me questions you already know the answer to, Patrick. Heck no.
All right. We'll talk more about this. We have some more show to go, so we'll do that. Tell you what, we'll get a break in right now. We're going to link up with our pal Brian North from News Channel 12. WCTI TV. He hosts the Blitz on there. That'll be on tonight at 11 o'clock on Channel 12. But the New Bern situation with the what we were suspecting what was going to happen last week actually happened this week with these forfeits. So I'm going to talk to Brian North a little bit about this situation. This seems like there's a lot of things going on there that are head-scratching. So we're going to follow up with North. We have Rose football for you coming up at the top of the hour, and it will be the Rapids taking on New Bern. Funny how that worked out. So we'll tell you about all that coming up next.
2024s are moving in, which means 2023s are moving out. It's the model year-end move-out at Greenville Toyota. Shop new RAV4s, $289 a month. Even save on the all-new Camry, also $289 a month. At Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
At GoEco, we don't just supply the office space. We create solutions for any environment. Our state-of-the-art commercial-grade video display is perfect for watching film with the team. From film study to the field, elevate your game with GoEco.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
The 2024s are here and the 2023s need to move. It's the model year-end move out at Greenville Toyota. Move in on new Tacomas just $299 a month. Plus get the Greenville Advantage at Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
Download the new IBX Media app now and get the show for your ears and eyes.
Doesn't it look great on me?
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Okay, welcome back. It is to get you to the weekend edition, Football Friday edition. Let's go now to the guest line where News Channel 12's Brian North, host of the Blitz, at 11 o'clock tonight, joins us on the program. North, great to talk to you again. Let's delve into some of the big news of the week out of Craven County, where things continue to be nuts, and that is New Bern now has forfeit 5 games, I think it was, this season. So they're now 2-6. This is quite interesting. So just give us the latest as far as the lay of the land goes.
So you would like these things to be cut and dried, right? Someone breaks rule, they get punished for rule, you move on in your life. But there's been such a lack of transparency about what's going on and what rules were actually broken. So the state championship that was forfeited from last year had to do with academic issues and allegations of the principal changing grades, which under state law he's allowed to do, but for some reason they've gone back in and said that there was some sort of academic fraud here. So they said those players were ineligible. They had to forfeit the state championship. This year's issue has to do with attendance requirements, which, again, convoluted issue because the NCHSAA does not have attendance issue requirements anymore. They dropped that several years ago when they were sued, and they said, well, it's not worth it. Let's send it back to the counties for them. If they want to have their attendance stuff in place, that's fine. They can do that. We are not going to enforce it, but we will forfeit the games if they want to forfeit them. So Craven County, like everybody, went through the pandemic. They changed a lot of the rules, but in 2022, they apparently changed them back to a 10-day absence per semester rule, which hadn't been enforced until all of a sudden it's being enforced now. Now, they knew of the attendance issues after the spring semester, which is what it has to do with. It doesn't have to do with this semester. It has to do with the previous semester. So the spring semester, these players missed more than the apparently what the Craven County policy is. And when you check the handbook, by the way, you can't. It's hard to find the policy, and then it's convoluted. There's 2 different policies that are in there. So there's just a lot of these issues of what is the actual policy. So they should have known that these players were ineligible before the season started, but somebody either missed it or thought they were eligible because of past policies. Somewhere there was some sort of communication where the superintendent had an audit done, went back in, claimed that these 6 football players were ineligible because of attendance. One they found out was a special needs kid who was exempt from it. The other was a guy who had surgery and missed a significant time because of this surgery, but had the proper doctor's notes and attendance, but they missed that. So they had him ineligible for a couple of games when he was actually eligible. So this is the background of all this. So now it's 4 players who are ineligible for the rest of the season, and so they had to forfeit their first 5 wins of the year. So this is where we are today. We think this is the final deal when it comes to actual football stuff. Now it gets handed off to the lawyers, and we'll see what they do with it after this. But this is where we are now. New Bern can still qualify for the playoffs, according to the athletic director, if they beat D.H. Connolly in the standings, the other 4A school in the conference. Who gets an automatic playoff bid? One of those 2 teams does.
Right. Tonight, New Bern is at Rose. We'll have that for you here, top of the hour on 94.3, the game, 6:50-ish, the airtime. I thought it was interesting that in the release, they also made sure they led with, West Craven had a soccer player, and there was also a tennis player. So they tried to couch this as if, it's running rampant through the school system. What is the book on this Wendy Miller? What is – she's got a bonnet, so what's the bee in her bonnet?
Everyone's trying to figure that out. They sit on the platform of it's about education and education first, which I think we all agree with, right? I mean, school is about learning. It's about showing up. It's about doing the things you're supposed to do. And that's great on a real superficial level, but you're dealing with a lot of different moving parts coming out of COVID, dealing with kids who don't have normal home lives. I will tell you there's accusations that one of the kids who had the attendance policy was homeless for 2 months. His mother had been incarcerated. There was no one to pay the rent in their subsidized housing. The housing authority kicked them out. There was no place for them to go. Not making excuses, just saying these are some of the circumstances people don't know about when having to deal with these issues. Normally coaches step up and help out and find ways. These kids were kind of left to the system. Now, there is a homeless policy in the Craven County School Book. If the kid's homeless, the things that they are exempt from. And there's all sorts of things that you can do here. So back to your question about the superintendent. The superintendent was someone who was a special education teacher, was a teacher of the year, was put into the front office to do HR work, and then worked her way up through. She's never been an assistant principal, never been a principal, but now she's superintendent of Craven County Schools. And so there's people questioning, does she have the leadership skills? Does she know how to get out in front of these things and transparency and communication? Where is all of this? This seems to be the issue a lot of people are having. Not that there are rules, but are these rules properly being enforced? Is everything right? Or is this just someone who doesn't care for athletics that much and is trying to get them under quote unquote control? That's the big question that's being answered. She has given us a couple of interviews. Not always transparent, not always there when we want her, but she hasn't hid completely. But there's a lot of people who still have a lot of questions left on this thing. And like I said, I think now the next step is it goes to the lawyers and they get to fight it out and make all their money on this. And we'll see. We probably won't have any answers until years down the road.
Well, so let me follow up on that. I would think, we had this morning Joe Tyson, I think it is, what's the Tyson guy's name from
you got
Steve, down there?
Steve Tyson. Yeah,
Steve Tyson.
Yeah, Steve Tyson is, yeah.
Yeah, so he was on Talk of the Town. I don't think Henry asked him about this morning. I would have been interested to have asked him about it, but I guess now that the association is in the control of the state, I mean, could he intervene? Has he shown any appetite to intervene?
Not that I have seen from him, and I haven't talked to Steve in a while about this, ever since the decision was made by politicians to have some power when it comes to the NCHA. I know Q Tucker said she was curious to see if she was going to hear from politicians about this. Now, Steve is he's a New Bern grad and a former New Bern high school football player. So, but I have not heard. I think he's trying to stay out of it as much as he can. But at some point, someone has to be a voice and a leader on this whole deal. And I think that's kind of where most people are frustrated. There's so much finger pointing going on.
Right.
Between the schools, there's school people blaming other schools, like West Craven ratted us out, or Havelock did this, and Havelock's not getting punished, but Havelock's saying you don't know what we're going through right now, the stuff we're dealing with, and coming from higher ups. So there's just so much of that going on right now. My one criticism, and I'm a media member, I'm supposed to be reporting facts. But I would say the one criticism is no one is out there just saying this is my fault, or we need to do this better, or we need to find a solution.
Yeah.
We screwed up, but we need to find a solution to the problem. We're not looking for perfect answers. We're looking for someone to just say, okay, we screwed this up. We need to do better at this.
Right.
Yeah, accountability. Correct.
Well, the problem here is the people that would possibly be accountable on the New Bern side of things, at least, are not there. The principal's not there. He's in early retirement. Tory Nowell is in Hillside in Durham coaching. They're not doing real well, but I mean, he's coaching. So I mean, it's just it's a muddy situation to say the least. All right, you've mentioned attorneys. Last thing for you here. What would be because it's not like you can suit over, flip things, and you get this team back into the playoffs and restore their wins this year. I mean, down the road you could, but I don't think there doesn't seem any urgency with that. The state championship thing seems probably that would be the – so, I mean, when you say lawyers are involved, go into that a little bit. I mean, is it – who's hired the lawyers and what are they seeking to do here?
Yeah, so that's going to be the big question is who has – now, this all goes back to the principal at the time, Jerry Simmons, filed a lawsuit against the school board and the superintendent about something he wanted removed from his file. Well, that was eventually thrown out down the road, and then that's when he was suspended right after it was thrown out, and that's where we've seen all these things. So I do know that I have it from good authority that the Craven County School Board and the superintendent are looking to see if any laws were broken in all of this. Was there any academic fraud committed where someone should be criminally charged? I don't know if they have evidence or not. I'm just telling you, I know that is an avenue that they are looking at right now. And so that's one way to go. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if some parents, somehow lawyered up on this deal, or coaches. Tory Nowell has been able to escape this. He's dealing with his own issues at Hillside right now. They're 1-6, and there are some people not happy with him right now. Jerry Simmons is around. Now he's teaching at Epiphany School in New Bern, the private school, and we've had limited contact. He has told me he did nothing wrong. He did everything under the laws of the state. He was allowed to do those things. He thinks it's been a witch hunt. It's been personal going after him, but he doesn't want to comment much further just because they could go after his retirement possibly. There's some fears out there. I think everybody's just trying to figure out what their position is and what is happening here. So now that we know where everything stands, that's usually when the lawyers get involved.
Brian North, catch him tonight, News Channel 12, The Blitz at 11 p.m. North, great to talk to you. We'll see you soon, buddy.
All right, Patrick. Hang in there, brother.
All right, there he goes, the great Brian North. All right, let us take a break. If you're with us on the radio side, we'll wrap the show up in just a bit. If you're with us on video, have a great weekend, but we'll be back with more PJ Show.